All right, it's April 25th, Saturday, at about 10 after, or 20 after 10 in the morning, and we are at the Train Mountain parking area. Starting our hike today, we're going all the way back to Deep Gap in Georgia. About 16, a little over 16 miles today, and about almost 12 miles tomorrow. So, as you can see, foggy, rainy. I'm going to be trying out my new rain pants from Lightheart Gear today, for the first time I'm actually able to use them. Unfortunately, I'll be able to use them, but let's get moving. We're heading northbound.
It's not the same. Crashed the truck, burnt the house down. You set the fire. Some things do remain. I mean, nobody died, but the lies make the liar. Somebody's gonna say, some children stay children.
All right, it's about 10 to 12, and we're just sitting down here for some lunch. We're just about to Young Lick Knob. Just before that, we're making a good time. I think we've probably done about 2.5 mile an hour pace. I brought a Subway, or half of a Subway sandwich. Big boy over here is going tuna on me. I tell you one thing, it smells too. I got mine in here for later on the night. So
mine is fresh. It's fresh too.
It is. Well, man, mine's a fresh sandwich as of yesterday. So we're gonna sit here, polish off lunch here, and then we'll mosey on up. It has been lack of scenery today, so I apologize for not getting a lot of good videos, but hopefully the sun does look like it's about ready to peek out, or trying to, through the fog. So no rain right now. We just took off all the rain gear, sweating pretty good in it. So onwards and northwards. Till later.
Just like the friction, the surface sets aflame, and gravity starts pulling on its weight. To me, didn't have to be. I mean, if you could, what would you then? No sense to me, didn't have to be. I mean, if you could.
Well, I just made it to the top of, or close to the top of Kelly Knob from Addis Gap, and it is a mile of nothing but uphill. 1 mile, about almost 900 feet of elevation gain, and as you can probably see by my face, not only is it I'm out of shape, and it is uphill, but it has gotten humid as all can be. Fortunately, the weather is held off. We don't have any rain or anything like that. It's been in and out of the clouds, but we've actually got some nice views of the valley through the trees. The leaves are just starting to bud. I don't know if you can see that. Some of them are coming in, and some of the trees are still pretty bare. But down in Charlotte, where I'm from, the trees pretty much have all their leaves by now. So you still got the views out through the landscape when they're allotted. So we have about, I think it's 8.9 miles to get to Plum Orchard Shelter from here. Some downhill, but there's another pretty good climb before we get into the valley over there. So I'll tell you later. I'm a little tired. I gotta get some water.
Take it back. We'll take it back. Take it back. Take it back.
Now, you can see here, a lot of people, when they go to fill their water bladders with these Sawyer bags, they complain about them failing a lot. What they don't do is I don't think they're properly used them based on the ones I've seen complain. If you roll it and squeeze it at just the flow rate that it'll take instead of trying to over pressure it through. These things seem like they'll last forever, or at least for a long time anyway. As you can see, I'm just taking it and rolling it in that way. Now I've also got a little cool thing that I've done. This is the Sawyer quick adapter, and I've taken a piece of old platypus water tubing and just added it to that, and this actually works quite well. Last trip I tried using my other platypus bag, and for some reason it wasn't working, even though it's worked for me for a long time. So you can see this thing works pretty good. Give it a squeeze and then roll. And as I said, it'll kind of tell you what the flow rate is. You don't want to overpressure it. And that thing works like a charm. Now, one thing you'll see me doing is I usually fill up 2 liters, but I don't want to carry all that. It's 2.2 pounds per liter. So what I'll usually do is I'll fill up 2. I'll go ahead and drink a whole liter, camel up, and carry a liter with me till the next water source. Oh, it tastes so good. Right behind me you can see Dix Creek Gap, US 76 I believe it is, and that is if you are coming northbound, or southbound for that matter, you could get a hitch probably into Hiawassee. Now they do recommend that you make phone calls from up on the ridge, probably either direction getting into it, because down here you will not have cell phone service. But I've seen plenty of cars sitting here for the last 10 minutes eating a snack, where you can probably, if you're lucky, get a hitch in. I'm sure they're used to AT through hikers and stuff along the way, but I tell you, whew, getting 2 hours of sleep last night while 2 guys sat up and yacked, reminiscing about old times when we should have been sleeping. It's taking its toll on me today, so the next 3.3 miles are going to be challenging. I have a 500-foot climb over 1.8 miles, then I go down into a dip, and then an 850-foot elevation gain over, I think, 1.2 or 1.3 miles. So it is going to suck everything last that I have out of me, and I'm sure Matt as well. The sign for Dix Creek Gap, Plum Orchard Shelter, 4.5 miles, where we are heading for the evening. And if I have energy before I crawl into the tent and die tonight, I will say goodnight. Until then.
Nobody died, but the lies make the lion.
I'm taking this because this looks like an elephant sticking out of the side of the tree. Or maybe I'm just the only one seeing that, but
somebody's gonna
so it looks like to me anyway.
Some children stay children for that other child had to pay. Just like the friction, the surface sets aflame, and gravity starts pulling on its weight.
Alright folks, well I just hit the Plum Orchard Gap. I'm going to be setting up my tent here. I'm not going to go stand in shelter, but I had a pretty good climb from Cowart Gap up to the top of Buzzard Knob, I think is what it was. I thought I was going to be pretty tired when I got here, and I am. But I figured rather than do what I would normally do, which is set up my tent and then not have enough energy to eat, I figured what I would do is I would go ahead and cook and then set up my tent while the stuff is rehydrating. But so tonight I'm actually trying out Packit Gourmet's Texas State Fair chili, and calls for 1.5 cups of water. I've already taken the packet out and put it in the container bag. It comes also with some pretty cool stuff. These things are actually really cool. It comes with cheese, corn chips, and Texas Pete. So after you rehydrate it, let it sit for about 12 minutes. You go ahead and add that stuff to it. Let's heat it up. Add that stuff to it and chow down. So I am going to let that water boil, put it in there, let it sit for the time that it takes me to go ahead and set up my tent. I'm going to enjoy it, and I'll let you know what it tastes like once I get it done. So as you can see, I've got my tent set up. It's been about 15 minutes now, so I've gone ahead and added the cheese, chips, and the Texas Pete hot sauce to this. And I don't know if you can see what it looks like in there. It looks pretty tasty, and it smells pretty tasty. So, to really kind of give it the true overall thing, let's give it a taste test here. And I like the Texas Pete wrapper. It was pretty good, so I'm kind of looking forward to this. It's hot. That is pretty darn tasty. Packit Gourmet's chili, Texas style chili. Oh, I love this thing. I'll definitely be ordering more of this. This is really good. Those chips and that cheese added extra, and that little bit of Texas Pete for that spice. Oh, it just brings those flavors all together. And here I was thinking about not eating tonight. Well, it is about 10 to 7 Sunday morning, and we are about ready to leave Plum Orchard Gap. You can see that's where we stayed last night in that little area. Matt's getting ready. Earning his new trail name, Slow Motion. We gave it to him before we came, but we knew that's because he gets a little slow start. He's actually a really good hiker though. So anyway, yesterday it was calling for 100% chance of rain. We lucked out to not get any until the middle of the night, and even then it was only a sprinkle. Nothing too bad, so the trail should be hopefully pretty good this morning. We've got 11.3 miles back to Deep Gap, where we got our cars parked, and pretty much predominantly uphill with a couple little valleys, I guess, that we're going to be our gaps that we'll be transcending through. So today it's looking beautiful. I don't know if you can make out that beautiful sunrise in the distance there. So onward and upward.
Lucy takes the long way home.
Well, as you can see, I made it to the North Carolina-Georgia border. So pretty good day. Been here before. But now, since I got off the Appalachian Trail in 2012 for my thru-hike attempt, I've actually hiked everything from Georgia, Springer Mountain, all the way up to Fontana Dam in a continuous line, plus a few hikes in Tennessee and Virginia. So pretty good milestone. Next up to the iconic tree up here at Bly Gap.
Meets me in a field of stone. She says I don't know how I'm supposed to feel. My body's cold, my guts are twisted steel. And I feel like I'm some kind of Frankenstein, waiting for a shock to bring me back to life. But I don't want to spend my time waiting for lightning to strike. So underneath the concrete,
you may or may not be able to see through the woods over there, is my car. Destination for day, 11.3 miles. It's about 10, a quarter till 1. So just a little educational piece on what to expect if you're heading northbound here. Out of Plum Orchard Gap, it is a pretty good climb. It is it's actually very, very challenging once you get to Bly Gap. From there on up, it's a pretty good climb up out of there. As I said before, a combination of me being out of shape and not getting the rest of the last couple days. But I still had a great time. Always a great time to be out in the woods, and surprisingly enough, with the weather forecast when I came into this weekend, yesterday said 100% chance of rain. We got out of the car, stopped raining. Did not rain until late last night, in the middle of the night. It sprinkled a little bit, and then today it started out very, very cloudy. So I apologize for not getting a lot of good video today. But just about an hour ago, the sun started clearing up. So once again, another great adventure. And until the next time, guys, as always, get out and hike.